Welcome to the Zombie Story Zone. Prepare yourself for a spine-chilling adventure as we dive into The Zombie King, Rise of the Dead. In a forgotten graveyard, a powerful zombie king awakens, leading an army of the undead to unleash chaos on the living. As terror grips the town of Millfield, brave souls must band together to fight back against the relentless horde. Will they survive the night, or will the Zombie King reign supreme? Join Ella and Ben as they uncover ancient secrets and battle the darkness that threatens to consume their world. If you enjoy tales of horror and heroism, hit that like button, share this chilling story with friends, and comment below to let us know your favorite moments. Your engagement fuels our passion for storytelling, and we can't wait to hear from you. Grab your flashlight and settle in for a thrilling ride, because once you enter the world of the undead, there's no turning back. Let's embark on this adventure together.
In the heart of a forgotten graveyard, beneath the gnarled roots of an ancient oak, a disturbance rippled through the soil. The moon hung full and bright in the night sky, casting an eerie glow over the tombstones, illuminating a figure rising from the earth. His skin, pale and decayed, stretched taut over skeletal bones, his eyes glowed with an unnatural hunger. This was no ordinary zombie, he was once King Alaric, a tyrant feared by all, now risen from his eternal slumber. With a guttural groan, Alaric lifted his head, surveying the darkness around him. He remembered the taste of power, the fear he had instilled in his enemies. This was his second chance. With a wave of his hand, the ground began to shake, and from the shadows, his army stirred, an unholy legion of the dead, clawing their way to the surface. In the nearby town of Millfield, life went on as usual. The streets bustled with laughter, the aroma of freshly baked bread wafted from the bakery, and children played in the park. But beneath this facade of normalcy lay an undercurrent of unease. Strange reports had surfaced, animals behaving erratically, shadows lurking where they shouldn't, and the occasional sighting of rotting corpses near the old graveyard. Ella, a local journalist with a penchant for the supernatural, sensed something amiss. She had heard the whispers of the townsfolk, tales of the undead that sent chills down her spine. Driven by a desire to uncover the truth, she decided to investigate the graveyard. Armed with a flashlight and her notepad, she ventured into the darkness, unaware of the horrors that awaited her. As Ella approached the graveyard, the air grew colder. A feeling of dread washed over her, but her curiosity pushed her forward. The moment she stepped through the wrought iron gate, she felt a shift in the atmosphere, a palpable energy crackling around her. Suddenly, she heard it, a low, resonant growl echoing from the depths of the cemetery. Her heart raced as she turned her flashlight towards the sound. Shadows danced between the tombstones, and for a fleeting moment, she glimpsed a figure cloaked in darkness. "Who's there?" she called, her voice trembling. From behind the gravestones, Alaric emerged, flanked by his army of the dead. He raised a skeletal hand, commanding silence among his minions. "You, living one, are in the presence of your king," he intoned, his voice a chilling whisper that sent shivers down her spine. Before Ella could react, the ground beneath her trembled. The earth erupted as zombies clawed their way to the surface, an endless tide of decay and death. Panic surged through her veins as she turned to flee. But Alaric's voice echoed in her mind, luring her back. "Stay, or you shall suffer the fate of the rest." The first of the zombies lunged at her, rotting hands reaching for her throat. She ducked, narrowly avoiding its grasp, and sprinted toward the exit. Heart pounding, she pushed through the gate, slamming it shut behind her. Breathless, she stumbled into the street, her mind racing. She had to warn the town. But as she ran, the sound of groaning and shuffling footsteps echoed behind her. Alaric had unleashed his army upon Millfield. The peaceful night shattered as the undead swarmed the town, overwhelming its defenses. Alaric watched from the shadows, relishing the chaos. The living fought back, armed with whatever they could find, baseball bats, kitchen knives, anything to fend off the ravenous horde. But they were no match for the sheer number of Alaric's army. Ella, desperate to rally the townsfolk, rushed into the town square. She shouted warnings, urging everyone to take cover. But the panic had spread, people were running, screaming, and falling into the grasp of the undead. As she searched for allies, she found Ben, a local mechanic with a fierce determination in his eyes. "We need to get everyone to the old school gym." It's the only place that can hold them off, he urged. Together, Ella and Ben rallied the survivors. They barricaded doors and windows, fashioning makeshift weapons from whatever they could find. As the zombies pressed against the barricades, the living prepared for a long night of fighting. Do you think we can hold them off? Ben asked, worry etched across his face. If we can keep them at bay until dawn, we might have a chance, Ella replied, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her gut. The night dragged on, filled with screams and the relentless pounding of undead bodies against the walls. But the townsfolk fought bravely, fueled by adrenaline and the will to survive. As the first light of dawn began to break, Ella noticed something peculiar about the zombies. Why aren't they retreating? She wondered aloud. Just then, Alaric appeared at the gym's entrance, his presence a dark omen. Foolish mortals, he bellowed, his voice cutting through the chaos. You cannot escape your fate. The dawn shall not save you. Ella felt a spark of defiance igniting within her. We are not afraid of you, she shouted back. We'll fight until our last breath. Alaric sneered. You will not last long. My army is endless. With renewed determination, the townsfolk banded together, pushing back against the tide of zombies. Ella led the charge, swinging a metal pipe with all her might, while Ben coordinated the defense. They worked seamlessly, fighting side by side, refusing to give in to despair. But as the sun climbed higher in the sky, Alaric's power seemed to grow. He raised his arms, summoning more of the dead from the ground, and the tide of zombies swelled once more. Hold the line. Ben yelled, desperation in his voice. We can't let them break through. Ella's eyes met Alaric's, and she felt a surge of courage. We'll find a way to end this, she vowed. And in that moment, she remembered the tales of the graveyard, the legend of a sacred artifact buried with Alaric, a pendant that could control the undead. Ben, we have to find that pendant. Ella shouted, her heart racing. It's our only hope. Ben nodded, determination etched on his face. I'll cover you. You'll need to get to the grave where he was buried. With zombies clawing at their heels, Ella dashed back towards the graveyard, dodging the grasping hands of the undead. She reached the ancient oak and began to dig furiously, dirt flying in every direction. As she unearthed the pendant, a silver amulet glimmering in the dirt, Alaric's furious roar echoed through the air. You cannot wield it. It belongs to me. Ella clutched the pendant tightly, feeling its power resonate within her. You're wrong, she shouted back. It belongs to the living. With the pendant in hand, Ella returned to the gym, her heart pounding with the weight of destiny. As she stood before Alaric, she held the pendant high. I command you, King Alaric. Your reign ends now. The pendant pulsed with light, and Alaric's expression shifted from rage to disbelief. No. You cannot control me. But Ella felt the power surge through her, channeling the will of the living. The zombies paused, hesitating as the amulet glowed brighter. You will bow to me, or be banished, she declared, her voice unwavering. With a blinding flash, Alaric's army began to crumble, the undead falling to dust as they were severed from their king's influence. Alaric himself screamed in fury, but the pendant's power was unyielding. As the last remnants of the undead dissipated, a profound silence settled over the town. The first rays of sunlight broke through the horizon, casting a golden glow over Millfield. The townsfolk emerged from the gym, weary but alive. Ella stood triumphant, the pendant still clutched in her hand. Ben joined her, a smile breaking across his face. You did it, Ella. You saved us. But Ella shook her head, a bittersweet expression crossing her features. We saved each other, she replied. Together. As they looked out over the town, a new dawn heralded the beginning of a fresh chapter. The legend of the Zombie King would fade into myth, but the bond forged in the face of terror would last forever. Millfield would rebuild, stronger than before, united against the darkness that had once threatened to consume them. Though the immediate threat had passed, the shadows of the past lingered. The pendant, powerful yet dangerous, was hidden away, a reminder of the battle fought and the lives saved. And somewhere, deep in the recesses of the graveyard, the roots of the ancient oak twisted around the remnants of a dark legacy, waiting for the day it would rise again.